Guys, things aren't looking too good right now, at least if we look at Bitcoin, because this bear flag was respected extremely well and we're now on our way back down. The small boxes you see, I already mentioned this in the last video, those are liquidation zones that I've already drawn on the chart for myself, so I have them in view, which isn't great either, and I've now seen that with Ethereum. We did have the breakout from this bear flag, which actually looked quite positive. We were triggered back in, but look at what today's daily candle has done. It simply did another retest of this flag and is heading further down again, Solana. Solana unfortunately doesn't look good at all. A small breakout here as well. And now it's heading further down again. I already have my Solana position. I'll be scaling it again for the first time. In that area, by the way, all the positions, if I go in now, currently I've even calculated a bit, are actually in profit. Bitcoin in profit, Ethereum in profit, Solana, slight loss. XRP is still very, very small. It's also minimally in loss. But what did I do today, for example? I've already drawn in my average entry price here if I get all positions filled and my liquidation price if everything really gets filled. You see, I'm at 62,350, but also already up to 54,500 US dollars to put Bitcoin into my long position. It looks similar, however, with the Ethereum position, I'm already prepared there too and have drawn in everything where my buyback orders are. Once here at 1,760 and at 1,500 US dollars at the current time, that would give me an average purchase price of 1,727 US dollars with a liquidation price of 870. And I did exactly the same with Solana so that I can calculate it individually so that I'm also ready if we should drop sharply. And I'll show you on the liquidation heat map in a moment what doesn't look so good. I already shared it in the Signal group yesterday why I'm also leaving the short position open at the current time. But here too, I'm buying Solana at $84.58, at $75, and again at $62.80. That would result in an average purchase price of $78, with a liquidation price of $40. And here I've placed a new order for the worst case, but also just above it, so that I don't get liquidated if we really see a massive crash, like we saw at the beginning of October. So that's the status of the current positions for now. The bots are also all green at the moment, except for one, that's the Ethereum coin margin bot, but it's already been busy putting Ethereum's aside, but otherwise everything is green. The neutral bots, the Ethereum Coin M bots, but also the long bots from Aster and Ethereum that are still open are all in the green as well. What worries me a little bit now? What do I find concerning? Just very simply, if we leave everything else aside for a moment, we traded a 0.5 Fibonacci here on a small time frame. I then saw in the Signal group on the 4th of March, I already posted a short opportunity up here. That was actually triggered and is currently doing very well, with over 100% in profit. Because, as I already mentioned in the last video, we had liquidation here, a small 0.5 Fibonacci, a small target level, but also the bear flag top. And that's not exactly nice to see right now, so let's take a look at the liquidation heat map. This is currently Bitcoin. Let's stick with this small time frame, 24 hours. Now, of course, we have plenty of liquidity above and below us. The liquidity even goes up to 76,000 US dollars. But that's just the small time frame, which we're now getting through all the short positions from the price drop. Because if we look at Bitcoin and just leave out this whole flag, I'll take this away now so we can see it more clearly. Let's just leave out the pattern here. We have some wonderful price action that started here, which is also playing out at the current time. And maybe, and this could really happen, we'll pick up liquidity in this area, for example, and then actually see higher prices again if we just consider the price action. Technically speaking, looking at the chart, it's actually quite clean. We've finally broken through the high that was here. That went with this high. We made another new higher high, and now we're making a higher low. And we could look at the 4-hour chart to see where the next reversal zones might be. I'll turn on my Fibonacci indicator, and from this low to this high at the current time, we see the first reaction. I'll turn off the bearish one now and turn on bull only, and there we see at the 0.618, there was at least the first reaction at the current time. That doesn't mean to me that we should just leave it at that, because a large liquidation cluster is waiting in this area. But maybe we'll also see the 0.786 here as a continuation. We've had it like this several times, so that if it really is the case, we'll continue to rise. Additionally, what we also have is that we've closed the CME gap here that was open, at least for Bitcoin. And then if we go to Ethereum, we have right below us the CME gap still open. Accordingly, I can imagine if Bitcoin is closed, why shouldn't we close Ethereum as well? And I would be prepared for that too. But if we now go to the higher time frame and leave out the week and 2 weeks and instead start with 1 month and 3 months, which we haven't looked at for a while, I think it actually looks really wild to me. We do have, and I don't want to deny that, we have really good liquidation at around 81,600 US dollars. But take a look at what's below us. We don't just have strong clusters, the first one being here, which is what I've also drawn in here. That's the first stronger cluster that's here. We have a very wide-ranging cluster here, meaning there are an incredible number of orders spread out here that are being liquidated. And I'm not even talking about this crazy cluster we have at 62,205. That's also the reason why I have the first order here for Bitcoin, for compounding, so that I can lower my average purchase price further. What also worries me are many small positions that have gathered here over a price range from 65,000 down to about 62,000 US dollars. That can get dangerous because you can flush a lot of people out of the market. And after that, we mustn't forget, it just glows so brightly to me, that would mean the final leg down if it really happened. The nearly 55,000 US dollars, what's sitting here is massive. In that case, if we go into the weekly chart, I'll include that now. If this really goes in like that, then we turn on the RSI and we see it on the weekly chart. And we really have a massive leg down, but maybe it's also combined with consolidations so that we finally play out this bullish divergence. What I said, that we'll have another increase. Due to consolidation, then no lower low at all. On the RSI, but the price then with a sharp drop with an unforeseen situation actually takes out the liquidations down here. And then we would really have the possibility for this weekly bullish divergence that I've been talking about for so long, which for me would be a reversal sign no matter how far it goes or how long it takes. But then we would at least from a technical chart perspective have a reversal pattern, a possible reversal pattern which could signal the bottom for us. Followed as it was last time by a long consolidation and then one last leg down. And after that, it went up. I mean exactly this area here. There we formed this divergence, one more leg down at the end, consolidation. And only then did it go up. And that took a while. It would be ideal if it's like that too. And now let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum, that's going to be exciting. And I also want to show you something about Solana. Because we have the hyperliquid liquidation heat map if we go in here, and traders are very often hunted there. Accordingly, I find it very exciting that we have 1,170 Bitcoins in a short position here. Could we therefore still get the 78,633? I don't know. We have some liquidations down here to 30,000, but also here up to 60,000. But what's much more exciting, and you might and you can, maybe still remember how I once showed you on the Coinglass legend here in this area for Ethereum, if I go in here now, when we were still at 3,000 US dollars. And above 3,000 US dollars, I talked with you about a liquidation that we see displayed here. I'm turning off the liquidation heat map and the liquidity heat map, but I'm actually only talking here. We were at a price of around 3,000 US dollars, I said, at just under 2,000 US dollars in a bit. Above that was a position with over 130,000 Ethereums being liquidated there. And exactly with this large hyperliquid trader, we've already recognized a pattern so that they are very often hunted and liquidated out. And what do we see now? We have a new position here with 70,000 Ethereum. I'll zoom in briefly so you can see where that's displayed. That's at 1,753 US dollars, and then we have another 50,000 Ethereum sitting there at 1,455 US dollars. For those who don't use Legend, you also have the option, if you go up here under liquidation on Coinglass, you have the liquidation map. You scroll down there and then you can choose the individual coins. And these are exactly those. It's a bit easier to see there. 1,750 US dollars is at hyperliquid. Someone who has 70,000 Ethereum in a long position. You can't see the leverage there. But then at 1,456 US dollars, we have the same thing again, where a single position with 50,000 Ethereum is in there. Here you can only see how high the leverage is. That means, of course, that he will be in a cross position, because 15x leverage, as we've seen here, probably wouldn't work out with the liquidation. And here at 1,455 US dollars, we have a 20x leverage position. For me, therefore, if we look at the Ethereum liquidation heat map again, now that we have a month in there, we have massive liquidity below us. Not just hyperliquid, but if we take all exchanges together, the 2,000 mark is very interesting. We have 1911, 1829, then here again 1654 and 1576 to a bit below that. We're only talking about 1 month. We can also look at 3 months. And that's what I mean, it's just glowing massively downwards. And there are billions in that range. You see it here, 2 billion, another 2.7 billion, 3.63 billion, 3.26. We have massive liquidity below us, which for a very long time now, specifically since the 22nd of February, has built up here again for everyone who went long here. The question will be, will the institutionals grab that? Or will we actually see the continuation of the price action? Yeah, like we've seen with Bitcoin now. Interesting to me, on a small time frame, 4 hours is really very, very clean if we include that. This price action that we're seeing at the moment, it really just makes me a bit worried about the liquidity below us, which we're gradually seeing in there. Because if we go into Ethereum, and this is what I meant at the start of the video, the flag, we had a massive breakout. In this case, it looks very much like a fake out now, because we tested it here with a retest and are now going further down again. We have the E gap open here. We have the next liquidations lying below us, all of which I've already marked out where they are as possible target levels or reversal levels. But even with Ethereum, we don't really see anything else other than a nice bullish price action, which we really have maintained here. There was a small consolidation. We can still include that, and it remains maintained at the current time. And with Ethereum at this point in time, it doesn't look like we have an official bearish price action on a 4-hour basis yet. Because breaking this low here would be interesting, but it would also coincide with the liquidation here. Because if we pick this up here, then we would have an official break of the structure below the last higher low. And that would be suboptimal, that we might actually rise again but see lower prices. That's just the pure price action that I'm pulling out of here now. But that's only Ethereum. With Bitcoin, at the current moment, the present moment, we have this smaller price action here. If we include it, we've already broken downwards. That means this small price action we had here could, in this case, as we see this low, has already been broken downwards, already be a bad sign. But I'm only talking about the smaller price action there. And now to conclude, Solana. Because with Solana, I also see a very, very exciting situation on the liquidation heat map. And if we look at a month here too, even a week is enough for now. Let's go to 1 week so we can really zoom out again, because we've been rising for such a long time now. But the price dropped downwards actually. We've been making higher highs and higher lows for quite some time now. But this cluster here, look at this. $85 to $84. It's glowing way too brightly for me when I compare it to what's above us, which is hardly anything. For institutional market makers and the like, they naturally really want to liquidate the long positions. And then let's go to 2 weeks and 1 month again. For me, Solana is therefore also very, very dangerous. Also the reason why I've placed my positions for Solana accordingly everywhere at these large liquidation points, as you can see here. The first one is at $84.58. It's nothing other than the first large liquidation cluster that we have here. And if I go even further, you see we've built up another one down here, but on a 2-week basis, we don't have much above us either. A bit concerning for me. And when we then look at the month, you really have to zoom out here and there. Does that look interesting for us to continue rising? Sure, bullish price action will have liquidity lying around at some point. But there's already been a lot of talk that was it for the bear market bottom and such. I'm of the opinion that wasn't it yet, because this here is just way too crazy. Again, the $85, we have the $79, but look at the $75 too. What's lying here again in terms of liquidation? I think that it's very exciting to play out the market again. We've brought in a lot of hopium now, opened many new long positions, liquidated many short positions, but there have been massive short liquidations here. Accordingly, it could actually be interesting now maybe that we play out this Bitcoin flag that I showed at the beginning of the video. I'll update that again so that we really play it out downwards and find support here again, at least here, and then see how it goes from there. Don't forget, liquidation hunting happens regularly. And we see that both from the short areas, which has happened here again now, as well as long areas that are now below us. Otherwise, feel free to leave a subscription to the channel and a like under this video, and until next time.